My
Hello,
maker and he's
everybody.
kind of goose says, you know, guys, he told me to shut up just now, and I'm like, come on, man,
When do I
professionalism,
never tell you just
professionalism.
shut up? Hi, sorry about
The
all that.
mouth on this guy, honestly.
And this is what I have to deal with, everybody. This whinging, moaning.
What if this is what I have to deal with all the time? Have you ever considered that?
Anyways, here we are. New recording session, new all that stuff. As of the time we're recording this, the new DEI update has come out, 1.3.2.
Fucking finally.
Yes. So, yeah, we should eventually be working on
Give
a new
careful
one.
thought to this offer.
But, yes. So, we've had Emperor's Ask for
I am
Peace,
told
where
our
they
treasury is
would offer to be our client state, but I declined. At this point, it's a kill or be killed.
And yet another hidden agent was exposed.
No, it's nothing. Oh, yes, there is that, but that wasn't the original message up there.
Sure, what else is new?
Yes, and we had a few generals level up, or characters. So, yes. Recruited some more thorax swords. And all is good.
Well, except for the litany of hidden agents that have been exposed to left, right, and center.
It's not a big
On
deal.
our side and beyond.
But, yes. So I've done a bit of quick testing about with the new DEI update. Not much of
Yeah,
it,
and
but
how's it looking?
grand. Again, I just did like a half an hour or so of an Adrissia campaign. Mostly just done a few custom battles. With the new machine, I've just been testing to see how this game runs with it, what the temperatures are like in my system. And now I'm just trying to see how OBS handles it all. Still trying to fine tune it so we get better visual quality. At least it's running smoother even with kind of higher like resolution, I suppose you could say. Trying to get it to 1080p. But I just need to get the visual quality better.
We'll see how that goes then.
Yeah, that's why that's part of why I'm thinking of waiting a few weeks, a couple of weeks after the update came out to start working on a new series.
Yeah.
To give time to get these technical bits sorted, to also give room for any hot fixes to DEI, which are likely to come. That's usually what happens in the next few weeks after the new update, is they've released a couple of hot fixes. You know, to patch out a few little bugs. There's one kind of a bug-ish slight thing at the moment I'm noticing. Arrows are all just plain white. Which, yeah, it's because they changed arrow textures in the new update. But as we see, our new family system. So our faction leader died, Messe died, and we have our new one.
Oh dear.
And we are a kingdom, so she's Basilissa, which is just basically queen in Greek.
Ooh, political intrigue. I love political intrigues. They're always the most exciting.
Yes. But here's our faction leader's army. Right outside the Dindari. Who's Singadun? Probably some kind of like a rebel version to the Skordiski.
You have the ear of my people.
Yeah, trying to see if you can get trade with the Scythians, speaking of whom they got overhauled in the new update.
Yeah? So what's the
Them,
difference?
newer units, basically, well, at least revamped appearances to units.
Our wares will be kept for our people. And
Them
those who...
and the Roxolani got overhauled. They didn't overhaul Sakarauka. Because they ran
Any
out of
reason why not?
IRL matters, made them just not have the time to get that done. Essentially. So that'll
That's a
probably be the
bummer.
next update. But yeah, so
See,
we're replacing some of the hoplites in our army with some mercs.
I thought. Yeah, we always seem to be replacing our hoplites as of late. I'm starting to notice a trend here.
In this case, they're just kind of badly damaged units of hoplites, so it'll be just quicker to replace them with some local hoplites.
Who do we usually try to replace them with?
Whatever's there. In this case, we got some mercenary Molossan hoplites, because
No, but is there like a specific brand of soldier that you usually try to replace them with?
well, I suppose I just try to replace them with other forms of hoplites if I'm sticking to using hoplites. Some of the armies I just may have gotten rid of hoplites to replace them with other spear units and whatever else, just to make the army a little different. But generally, in this case, I'm just replacing hoplites with other hoplites.
I see you're replacing an awful lot of damage.
Yeah, it's just easier if I just disband and then recruit a fresh unit.
Oh, but you'll hurt their feelings.
That's irrelevant here.
Cold, man. It's just brutal.
So yeah, just replacing some new units, getting some newer units. And the Brethren of Battle, put them into patrol stance to help ease public order. And that army looks like it's nearly finished being replenished. Get rid of those Greek mercenary hoplites and getting the Molossians. So yeah, it looks like we're nearly finished our siege tech.
How's it looking, actually?
Well, about 6 turns away to get that particular piece of technology. But we got a battle against Epirus, or at least Epirus are attacking.
And I see we're battling in the region of Apollonia.
Yeah, so around Apollonia. See what they got.
I've missed Apollonia.
So a quick save suggesting I'm gonna fight this one.
Come on, press the fucking button, man!
Yes, they got Illyrian Thereo spears.
Ooh, those are pretty tough.
Well, they're solid enough units. Thereo spears are always going to be pretty solid.
Right, so who do we have in terms of troops?
Balearic slingers. So we got Balearic slingers for our ranged contingent.
Balearic slingers, alright.
We got our various hoplite phalanx troops, I'd say. Well, I don't know. We've got our Livy Phoenician Thereo spears, Sacred Band. We've got our, I think those are probably the Molossian hoplites. These are the Massalian Thorax hoplites and another Sacred Band.
Alright, let's see how we fare then. Oh, and slingers away.
Yep.
What did they sling again? Did they sling lead? Was it?
Possibly, I think a mixture of like clay, kind of stone ammunition, or leaden bullets. Something to that effect.
I see.
I know.
So I was always under the assumption that lead would be the best weapon for this, because of the fact that like they're harder to bullet, you launch them or something. I don't know.
Whatever, I suppose slings will use whatever is kind of handy enough to them, I'd say. Really good ones might use some kind of good ammunition like leaden shot or whatever, because it can do a lot of damage. It's pretty light.
I suppose, yeah.
But I suppose it really depends. Like, a simple shepherd boy with a sling is not going to probably likely have some nice lead bullets. He'll probably just have some stones or clay projectiles. But the Balearics were really, really good at what they did, and could be quite professional mercenaries. So we charge our spearmen into their pikes.
Oh. Bit of Lord of the Rings action there.
So our Libby Venetian Drells are fighting their pikemen. And this is our Ambati.
This is though they're circling a little bit there.
That's our Libby Venetian Thorax swords fighting. So, yep.
Coming at them from all sides now.
Well,
Full
mainly just
frontal
in front.
assault.
Our Numidians are apparently being chased by their Sarissa.
Oh, that's not good. Mr. Polari. I don't know how to pronounce these, sorry.
The Thesprotii. What was the unit we were looking at?
I can't remember.
You sound like you're almost trying to say Mr. Poroi.
yeah, I think so. I think it was that one.
Well, Mr. Poroi, I think, just means mercenaries.
Oh, right. I thought it was a type of mercenary.
It's just a term that kind of means mercenary. I think it literally means something different to mercenary, but it's used to refer to mercenaries in Greek. Maybe one day I'll grill you on Latin and Greek pronunciation so you'll be reasonably proficient at it.
Oh, that'd be handy. Thanks.
Because a lot of these are Latin and Greek terms. Some aren't, quite a lot aren't.
In order to understand half of these terms.
Yeah, so you have their pikemen holding on.
Holding on from a distance.
Well, that's the point.
I know. We're worth observing.
But yes, we'll be having plenty of that sort of stuff for our Seleucid campaign.
Really now?
Because they have
Are they
pike
a
units.
fan of the spearmen?
They have pikes. They have two types of pike units. Bronze shields and silver shields.
Is there a difference between the two?
Silver shields are basically better than the bronze shields. The silver shields represented a more professional group. They were
So
they were a full-time guard. Probably a full-time
like-
guard.
Upper class, basically.
They, I guess they were Greco-Macedonians, but a lot of the Seleucid military at its core were Greco-Macedonians.
But I'm sure they had a class system of some kind. I mean, like if they were willing to.
Well, yeah,
they were
generally,
willing
I
to
suppose.
use bronze and silver shields to differentiate between them. You know.
Well, yeah, but I guess the thing is, the silver shields were a more professional, full-time guard of Greco-Macedonians. The bronze shields, I don't know much about the bronze shields, because despite how they appear in DEI at the beginning, they really didn't appear in the Seleucids until quite a bit later.
Oh, I see our elephants have arrived.
Yes. So,
Mowing down quite a few enemies there.
yeah, so the Seleucids will be having plenty of elephants also.
Yeah?
Indian elephants.
Oh, okay.
We'll also be having chariots with the scythe chariot.
Finally. Well, like, you've been waiting for ages to start using those chariots now.
We'll have pikemen. We'll have nice Galatian units to work with. We've got some pretty good Horakitai with the silver shield swordsmen and the a game of spearmen. Those have some nice cataphracts. So, yes. See, our Arios Epones are very depleted.
Yes, indeed. God almighty, that was fast.
There's Protoi Torakitai.
What are they skilled at exactly?
The Thesprotoi Torakitai?
Yeah.
Well, I think the idea is that Thesprotians are meant to be just kind of a particular elite regiment, elite group of swordsmen, and Thorakitai just means that they are kind of heavy.
So they're heavy swordsmen, basically.
Yes, basically. Thorakitai were soldiers in the Hellenistic period that were basically well armored. You know, I talk about Thoreoporoi.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're basically Thoreoporoi, but with heavy armor. So, things like chainmail or scale or muscle cuirass, that sort of thing. No, they fought with spears or swords, you know. But yeah, I don't know much regarding Epirus and its military other than just it would have been similar to a lot of the Hellenistic kingdoms because they were a Greek-ish kingdom, kind of, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have used pikemen, as far as I understand. They did actually use elephants, at least when fighting Rome. And they're also kind of suggested to be part of where the Thureoporoi may have emerged. It's kind of a debate as to whether did Thureoporoi emerge because of Pyrrhus and the use of Italians when fighting Rome, or was it through the Celts? Was it the Greek exposure to Celtic warriors and their oval shields that led to the adoption of this type of shield, or did it have more to do with Pyrrhus and his Italian campaign? That's sort of the debate as far as I've understood.
But there's a lot of factors to consider.
Yes, I think I'd be more convinced with the Celtic argument.
Why would you say that?
Well, for one, it makes a lot of sense if you think in just simple the fact the Galatians were, well, they very much were significant in the East, and were used quite extensively by the Seleucids and the Ptolemies.
Is that an enemy running away from an elephant there?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's bloody relentless, it is. It just won't fucking give up, like.
But I think that I explained that I discovered that a reason why you might notice when it comes to elephants, well, they might say there's a certain number, but then it actually is like half that number of entities.
Always ready.
That's actually because in the case of, like, say, Atlas elephants,
We dream of
oh,
it.
just
We
quickly,
run
the
it as
Dardanelles
others
declared
do
war
a
on
fat
us,
goose. And you look plump.
and their ally the Idrisians did not join them.
I see we started yet another war. See,
Actually, they started the war.
Oh, they started it.
They
Okay.
declared war on us. So this army, they got Hypaspists, later on fire warriors, a lot of footmen, a lot of levies, a lot of Agrianian axemen, and mighty peltasts.
Whether it's us or them, we always tend to not do a very good job at preventing wars, let's just say.
Well, the thing is, the AI can just sometimes be very aggro. So, you know.
So we just decided to take that defeat. We just decided to take that defeat with honor. Is that it now?
But simply, there's not much we could really do to stop them when they attacked.
Uh-huh.
Because this is actually, I think, the event that we this is the thing that we talked about regarding that city and how it felt at the Dardanelles. Remember, I wasn't sure and thought this had happened sometime in session 15. Turns out it happened in 16. So so as we talked to session 15, which this recording now is from what was called session 16, the 16th gameplay session. The one prior to that, 15, had a lot of technical problems from OBS, so the footage wasn't always there for the campaign. We had some explainers at the time for that. And one of the things I noticed but thought had occurred in then was Delminium having fallen to the Dardanoi. I'm only just realizing now that happened in this session. We had like a little explainer video that I think was supposed to be incorporated into the last video, our last video, but I don't think it was, and I guess it's fair enough now because don't think it was really needed. If the thing we were trying to explain that probably happened that wasn't shown in the footage actually was shown just in the next session. But anyways,
for all these technical issues, God, they hard to wrap your head around.
well, it's just also the fact that there's been quite a long time. Ooh, we're out of supplies in the region.
Oh, and you see we're going up to Delminium.
Delminium.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this is the one where there's no battle replay, if I understand correctly. What happens is, quite a bit into this battle, the game just crashed on me. But, yeah, so we have no replay, so you're just seeing what was recording of me fighting the battle out. So take advantage of the guerrilla deployment of the Ambacti and plonk them right over there.
And our Libyan infantry is well positioned, I'd say.
Yeah, they don't have Vanguard deployment. Not Vanguard, I'm thinking of Warhammer. Guerrilla deployment. I've been playing Warhammer 3 quite a bit lately, so their version of guerrilla deployment is called Vanguard.
Yeah, and how does that work out?
It's the exact same as guerrilla deployment. So, you know how a lot of units that can only go as far as that yellow line?
Yeah.
Units with guerrilla deployment, or in Warhammer Vanguard, can go beyond that. So you see the white line?
Yeah, I see it.
That's the extent to which a unit with guerrilla deployment can go.
Okay.
So put simply, those with guerrilla deployment can move even closer to the enemy, which is useful, but it only applies to certain units. So that's where Numidian cavalry have it, because of the Numidian horse. That's one of the effects of the Numidian horse. Which, speaking of special horses, we will have 2 of them in the Seleucid campaign.
Yeah? Well, what
Thessalian
kind of horses?
and Nisaean.
Alright, and what's the difference between the two?
Basically, they have the same broad function, it's just one is better than the other.
So, like, can you give us an example?
Yes.
Like?
So, historically, the Nisaean, Thessalian, and Maripos breeds were quite large horse breeds for the time. I stress for the time because horses back then were quite small compared to horses today. And about the size of modern day ponies. And horses like those were just a bit bigger than, than the average horse. So what the DEI devs did, I think Cam was the one that brought this in, was to basically give those cavalry units extra mass. So basically, when it comes to a unit's charging power, that is determined by 2 criteria: speed and mass. The more mass a unit has, the more power their charge can have. It's what makes elephants so powerful.
Of course,
they have a lot of mass. So cavalry units that have the Maripos, the Thessalian, and the Nisaean horse, they will have better mass than the average cavalry unit. Which means they will have better charging power. Their charges could do more damage. The charge bonus stats that you'll see a unit have, as far as I understand, that's damage that they get to bring in after they engage. So after they engage, after the mass and speed has led to its own damage calculation, the charge bonus kicks in for its own set of damage calculations. So that's at least my understanding of how the system works. Now, in regards to the Maripos and Thessalians, so both of them provide greater mass to the cavalry unit. But the Maripos, well, yeah, Maripos, but the Nisaean and Thessalians, because the Seleucids. The Nisaean horse provides the most mass. So any unit that has a Nisaean horse would have the best mass of any horse unit. If you get
So you're the kind of guy that likes. You're the kind of guy that would prefer to have more mass than anything else.
well, you definitely want a unit with a lot of mass because that's what makes their charges more powerful.
So you basically consider that more important.
Well, it is a very important thing to consider when you want charging power.
Well, I know, but out of the two options, I was just noticing.
Well, I suppose my understanding is the Nisaean has the better mass. But of course it only applies to certain select units that have the horse.
No, of course.
You know, you can't just give any unit in the game like the Nisaean horse. You probably could have been tweaking the game's files, but that's not how it works. So for the Seleucids, I think their Sarissipoi cavalry and the Epilectoi, which they get in their thorax reforms, have Thessalian horse. Whereas the late version of the Agama cavalry, a guardian cavalry, they get the Nisaean horse. I think Nisaeans were a popular breed to use for cataphracts historically because they were among the biggest of ancient horse breeds.
Yeah.
So they could sustain all that weight. Because again, the cataphract was a unit of cavalry where both the rider and the mount were covered in armour. You know, riders were head to toe in armour, and the mounts had pretty heavy armour on them also. So you want a horse that can sustain that weight. You know, the weight of the barding, but also the weight of the rider. And the Nisaean horses were among the best for that.
Oh, mighty, it's quite the bloodbath up there.
Oh yeah, we're fighting the late Ramphia warriors, Thracian Ramphia warriors.
So what are they skilled at?
Well, you see the fact that they're wielding a big slightly curved two-handed sword?
Yeah, I think I can.
That is a pretty powerful weapon.
Is it like one of the most deadliest swords you could wield?
Yeah. Well, let's just say this much. There's a people... So, these are Thracian units. But a related group to the Thracians... the group that was related to the Thracians were the Dacians. And being closely related to the Thracians, probably a subset of Thracian, they had a weapon that was very similar to the Ramphia, called a falx. The general distinction is, this is I think kind of modern-y labels because Ramphia is a Greek word, probably from Thracian. Falx is a Latin word. But the falx was even more curved than the Ramphia.
Even more powerful?
Well, that's a notable thing that it was curved. And the key thing here regarding the power. So the Romans in the reign of, I think it was Trajan, which is like probably about the 2nd century CE,
Yeah.
went on campaign against the Dacians. This is what they called the Dacian Wars. The Dacians lived in what we now call Romania. And basically the Dacians gave the Romans a hard time because of the flux.
Oh,
The
so
flux was able to apparently penetrate the Roman shields, even probably bypass the shield because of its length and curvature, and it could also pierce the Roman helmets, and also get at the gaps in the Lorica segmentata armor that a lot of them were wearing.
these regular fearmongers these guys are then.
So the
Or
Romans
these
had to
fearmongers
adapt.
the rise of the Romans.
Well, don't know they scared them, but they certainly caused a great headache. So the Romans adapted.
I was just always under the assumption that the Romans always had this big image, this self-image in their heads where like they were the most unstoppable empire ever.
Well,
to have
they
these
were-
swords,
well-
these special cursed swords chop away at their shields just to be like
The Romans
destroyed.
were certainly a major power, but they were not like unbeatable.
No, I just assumed that they had that
Well, I
self-image
don't
in
know
their
how much
heads
the
or
Romans
something.
saw themselves, but the Romans were always adaptable. They were always adaptable when they needed to be, quite pragmatic when it came to warfare.
Not enough to stop their empire falling, I'll give you that much.
Well, that's not because of warfare.
It's because they weren't adaptable enough.
The reasons for its collapse are complicated and multifaceted. It was a combination of issues. Constant barbarian threats from the outside, which they had a hard time dealing with. Internal instability with constant civil wars, I think probably plagues. Economic downturn. You know, that's just some of the reasons, and it's not a subject I know very well in depth. That's not fully my area, the late Roman Empire. And again, we're talking about the Western Roman Empire. Because by the time of the fall of Rome, the empire had been split in two for quite some time. East and West. Sure you know the Byzantines?
Yes, I'm very familiar with the Byzantines.
The Byzantines never really called themselves Byzantines. Do you know what they actually called themselves?
What?
Romans.
Knights Templar?
Romans. I know what you're referring to because Assassin's Creed.
I couldn't
which-
resist, dear
I know.
viewers.
Considering, in fairness, the first time I ever heard of the Byzantines was Assassin's Creed Revelations.
But yeah, they were originally Romans.
They called themselves Romans because the Byzantine Empire was basically the term Byzantine is the term we modern people, historians, use to refer to the Eastern Roman Empire post the fall of the West. So, when the Western Roman Empire fell in the 5th century CE, let's say, I think it was around the 5th century, the Eastern Empire continued for another 1,000 years. They didn't
Pretty
collapse
long
till the
indeed.
15th century. But once we get to that point of referring to the Eastern Roman Empire, when it's the sole surviving empire of Rome, we kind of use the term Byzantine to refer to it. Because, so, the capital city of the Byzantine Empire was Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. I'm sure you probably would know enough about that, considering Assassin's Creed was set in Constantinople. Right?
Yes.
Well, the old name for... So Constantinople was basically founded by the Roman Emperor Constantine and named after him. Constantinopolis. Constantine City, something to that effect. City of Constantine. Well-
Constantine.
That was the Turkish name for it. The Turkish name is Constantine, but Greek Constantinopolis. Well, prior to Constantinople, that same area was a city known as Byzantium.
Okay.
Greek, it was, well, probably in earlier classical Greek, it would have been Byzantium, but that probably later just became Byzantium. But still, it was called Byzantium. And just because of, I guess, arbitrary reasons, we reference Byzantium as the name when referring to the Eastern Roman Empire after the fall of the West. It's weird, it's probably arbitrary and a bit complicated. But the basic gist here is, to get to the whole point of the Romans here, a fundamental point here. The Romans were very adaptable, particularly in military matters. But the reasons for the Empire's fall, the Western Empire's fall, were complicated, multifaceted, and had a lot to do with just instability problems and a great military defeat.
So basically, it was just complicated.
Yes, history is complicated. Everything is complicated.
Life is complicated. Sure, without complications, there'd be just dullness.
Suppose so. But the key thing here is that the reasons for why things happen is often very complicated. And I'm usually of the belief that we shouldn't try to kind of avoid the nuance just for the sake of simplicity. I don't even believe we should try to keep it, just try to keep things simplified whilst acknowledging there are complicated factors.
Of course.
So, so I always try to allow and point out these things are layered and complex, and what I might be presenting as a simplified version as best I may understand. But the key thing here is, so to get to what was ultimately the fundamental point, the Romans adapted against the Dacians, but the key thing here is that the Dacians were quite tough to take on because of their weaponry. And so when we're talking this game, the Thracian and Fire Warriors are particularly deadly because their weapon is deadly. So yeah, this has basically just been a series of tangents, which is what I do a lot of the time. I jump from topic to topic to topic to topic.
He's a regular chatterbox, dear viewers.
It's just my mind is all over the place, so I very easily lose track of what I'm originally talking about. I start jumping to another topic.
That's alright, man, don't worry.
I do that when I'm talking to myself also. It happens a lot when I talk to myself.
Sure happens to the best of us, man.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
It's the way my brain works, but yeah. So, but we are kind of approaching the end of this part.
Yes.
As I said, this battle was going pretty well. It would have been a very costly victory, I'd say, maybe. But unfortunately, the game would eventually crash.
Yes, technology, unfortunately, was not on our side for this particular battle.
Nope.
Sure, what can you do?
Yeah.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
So, yes. We're trying to burn down the gate so we can flood more troops in. Because just using ladders and siege towers ain't enough. But yeah. The gatehouse is on fire.
I'd say that's a very desirable effect.
Yes, because we want the gate to be destroyed so we can get our troops in.